Hello, hello, hello. Big D here. It's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for a Week 18 recap on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in Alex for his weekly contribution, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where you can see all the content. You can trash talk Alex about his Dolphins. You can trash talk me about my Jaguars, even though both our teams won on Sunday. Also, check out the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple. So, joining us for his weekly contribution is the leader for Jalen Water Offensive Rookie of the Year fan club, and now first in line to be the new Miami Dolphins head coach, Alex.
Thank you very much, Dylan. Always a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy weekend in football, man. Black Monday hit hard for a couple of teams, and an absolute insane ending of the regular season. One of the craziest games I've ever seen on Sunday Night Football, and a couple really good games on the main slate as well. But like I said, pleasure to be here. Can't wait to recap this week 18 and the crazy weekend we had.
Yeah, when you said week nuttiest, craziest games, I hope you're mentioning the ending of the 272 game regular season between the Los Angeles Chargers and Las Vegas Raiders, because that was the craziest week 17 week 18 season finale I have ever seen. I mean, what didn't happen in that game?
I mean, a tie is what didn't happen, but it came really, really, really close to happening. And
Steelers fans are happy that game didn't end in a tie.
Yeah, the second that field goal went in, Daniel Carlson, I mean, he's a Pittsburgh hero from now on, just because, I mean, I couldn't imagine being a Steelers fan watching that overtime game. I mean, it's just got to be, I mean, to set the scene, you've got two teams who both just need a tie to make it into the playoffs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers just watching from their couch, from the team hotel, wherever, Steelers fans across the world holding their breaths, just praying against a tie, all because of your Jacksonville Jaguars pulling off the stunning upset of the Indianapolis Colts. It's crazy. I was seeing it all week on Twitter about how, oh my God, imagine if the Jaguars beat the Colts and the Raiders and Chargers just need a tie to both make the playoffs. They could have a kneel down fest, and everyone's like, but the first part about that, the Jaguars got to beat the Colts. And what do you know? You guys took care of business. But, I think a lot of people were rooting for that tie. I think a lot of people might have been disappointed, A, with either the Chargers' use of that timeout at the end of the game, or B, with the Raiders just deciding to go for the win. But definitely one of the most exciting and interesting situations and overtime games I've ever seen.
So, here are a couple of facts. So, what did you think of how both coaches handled the game? Because to me, Brandon Staley made a couple interesting decisions. He went for a 4th and 2 early in the third quarter from his own 18, 19-yard line, where 99% of coaches would have just punted. But even analytically, and yes, the Chargers are an analytically driven team. Brandon Staley gambles for 4th down almost seemingly more than anybody outside Dan Campbell. But yet, did you think Brandon Staley maybe went too much into analytics and maybe went against what made sense, which would have been punting and making the Raiders go 65, 70 yards?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't agree with the 4th down decision. I mean, it's a 17-14 ball game. You're down by 3 points in the third quarter. I mean, you've got plenty of football left. And just the potential opportunity for a huge momentum switch like that. I mean, at your own 18-yard line, I get you've got a high-powered offense. I mean, you've got Austin Eckler who has been a monster all season. You've got two great receivers. You've got a nice young quarterback. I get that you've got a really solid offense. But 4th and 1, 4th and 2, whatever it was at the Chargers, at your own 18-yard line in a 3-point football game, in a game you need at least some kind of result in to make the playoffs. I mean, I get the confidence, I get the ambition, the drive, the strategy that, obviously he gets the call and no one's really, he gets the first down and no one's really talking about it. Obviously, I mean, you fail on that fourth down and it becomes a bigger thing than it could have been. But I mean, I don't agree with the call. I mean, it's a 3-point game in the third quarter. I mean, I get it if there's 5 minutes left in the fourth and you don't want to give them the ball back with the opportunity to just run the clock out. But I mean, you've got plenty of football left. And I mean, fortunately for them, the Raiders only got a field goal out of that. So, I mean, it could have been a lot worse for them. But I mean, I definitely don't agree with the Brandon Staley call. I mean, it's easy to say after he doesn't get it, but I mean, on your own 18-yard line, there's got to be a sort of limit to where you'll push the envelope. And I think he pushed a little too hard on that one.
Could he have overthought the situation, thinking if we get this first down, we keep that Raider offense off the field and have got a chance of tying or taking the lead, maybe getting momentum instead? Yeah, that didn't work out well.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely. I mean, I don't know if he overthought it. I mean, I get it. It's 4th and 1. I mean, you every team in the NFL should have a play that can get you 1 yard when you need it. I mean, obviously, it doesn't always work out that way, or else everyone would be going forward on 4th and short situations. But I mean, just running it up the middle, loss of 2 yards, 9 minutes left in the third quarter. It's just a weird situation. I mean, I get that. You're in a do or die game. Obviously, you're not playing for a tie, as we saw in the overtime session and throughout the entire game. Obviously, they weren't playing for the tie. They wanted to win that football game. But, it's just, you gotta, it's risk versus reward, and giving the other team the ball in the red zone already on first down. I mean, it's just, yeah. I mean, overthinking or overconfident, whatever it was. I mean, who knows that? I mean, obviously they lost by 3 in overtime. So it definitely, I mean, you punt that ball away and make a good stop on defense with a lot more field at your back. Could be a completely different situation. The Chargers could be in the playoffs right now.
And another interesting decision Staley made. I know everybody's going to diss him for the timeout with 40 seconds left, but after Justin Herbert threw what was it, his 59th fourth down pass of the game, fourth down where where the Chargers got a touchdown, Staley kicked the extra point. To be honest, I was surprised the Chargers didn't go for 2.
Yeah, I was too. I was really wondering,
especially when the Raiders defense had been on the field for the last hour, for 19. What was it? 17. It was either 19 plays, and how much time came off the clock? Like 2 minutes. That was the longest 2-minute drive, 2-minute drill I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, 19 plays, 83 yards, 2 minutes and 6 seconds. I mean, what they picked up 1, 2, 3 fourth down conversions on that one drive alone. I mean, it's funny. We were talking about them going forward on the 4th and 1 and not getting it. I mean, if you look at those fourth down conversion stats at the end of the game and you're able to look ahead and see that, well, then yeah, maybe I'm not too surprised, but that they would go for it on that 4th down. But as far as the timeout call goes, I mean, there was 1 or 2 seconds left on the play clock. I mean, I don't fault Brandon Staley for calling that timeout as much as I fault the Chargers defense for not making a stop on the play. I mean, Josh Jacobs just kind of manhandled past the Chargers defense for a 10-yard gain on 3rd and 4. I mean, you make one stop, they're at the 40-yard line, somewhere around there. I mean, the chances of them kicking that field goal on 4th down, I mean, yeah, they'd probably go for it, but it's a lot harder of a field goal to kick than where they ended up kicking from. So, I mean, yeah, Brandon Staley, a lot of people are questioning him on the timeout. I don't really think the timeout made much of a difference. You just got to make the stop on 3rd down. I mean, that's really what it came down to, in my opinion.
timeout did not affect whether the Chargers won the game, tied the game, or lost. It was the Chargers' inability to stop the run that cost them the game. Because LA's got the worst run defense in the league.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs, who's been a fantasy disappointment. If you drafted him, I'm sorry. But he finally showed up.
He did.
And you couldn't make a stop. If you make the stop there, the Raiders are kicking a 60-some-odd, 59, 60-yard field goal. And I know Daniel Carlson has not missed a kick in that stadium. But do you imagine a 60-yarder where if you miss it, you give Justin Herbert the ball in midfield?
Yeah.
And true, in that case, maybe the Raiders decide, you know what? We'll take the Chiefs this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we both pretty much went over it. I mean, it really just came down to the Chargers' inability to stop Josh Jacobs. I mean, 132 yards. Obviously, we've seen some good from Josh Jacobs in the past. You know, he's had a rough season. He's had a rocky season. He showed up this week and he took his team to the playoffs. I mean, you've got to be able to compete and in all facets of the game. I mean, obviously, the Chargers have had a really nice season. They had a bunch of really big wins. They had a couple big losses, unfortunately for them. And it really, I mean, it's crazy how these NFL seasons and these playoff races can come down to literally one play. And that's what happened on Sunday.
And how about, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Rich Bisaccia, is that how you say it?
Yep.
The interim coach who took over when John Gruden left, and now leading the Raiders to the playoffs. I mean, the Raiders have gone through a whirlwind season with the Gruden situation, Henry Ruggs. I think another player got a DUI the other day. I mean, the Raiders have gone through a Hollywood script season, and yet they're in the playoffs. I mean, what a job he's done. And whether he gets the full-time gig or not, Bisaccia has done yeoman's work with that team.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. I mean, they ended the season on a 4-game win streak, beating the Chargers, the Colts, the Broncos, and the Browns. I mean, we've been talking about it every single episode for the last couple of weeks about how once December football hits, I mean, these are the games that you've got to be able to step up if you want to make that playoff. I mean, there's only 7 teams in each conference making the playoffs. And I mean, that leaves a lot, more teams than more teams not making it than teams making it. And, credit to, the coach's name you just said, who I'm having trouble pronouncing as well. But, I mean, he won when it counted. He stepped in for a pretty lost Raiders team after the Gruden firing, and took them to the playoffs. So, I mean, I'm curious on the other side of the ball. What do you take from Justin Herbert from A, his rookie season, B, I mean, how he performed in this finale? I mean, do you think he could have done better? Do you think there was anything he could have done to propel the Chargers into the playoffs? Or do you think he pretty much played as best as you can expect from a rookie quarterback?
I mean, for Herbert, Justin Herbert was not the reason why the Chargers lost this game. He played really well. The Raiders kicked the crap out of him. I mean, How many times was Max Crosby in the backfield? It seemed like Max Crosby was in the backfield every other snap.
Yeah.
I mean, Herbert was under so much duress. The Raiders kicked the crap out of him, but Herbert just kept firing me. Herbert threw the ball 64 times. That looked like a Big 12 2010 game.
Yeah.
With how many times he threw the ball. But look at how many 4th down conversions the Chargers gained. A lot of those were not cheap. They were not like, those conversions were not like 4th and inches, 4th and 1. They were like 4th and 9, 4th and 10. I think there might have been a 4th and 20.
Yeah, I mean, that's just those are, and you look at situations like that, and I realize I said Justin Herbert is a rookie. Obviously, yeah, he's in his 2nd year, but still from a young quarterback, my point still stands. But yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable how you can go 6 for 7 on 4th down. I mean, and especially when it's down the stretch and still end up losing the game. I agree with you. I mean, Justin Herbert, he's Chargers fans are in love with Justin Herbert with good reason. I mean, the man, he's balling for them. He's obviously, you know, as a Dolphins fan with the whole Tua versus Herbert thing, it's a little tough for me. But I know Chargers fans, as disappointed as they are to miss out on the playoffs, they're confident in their team and they're confident in their quarterback, and I think they know they've got a good one going forward. But that moves us on. I think we've it was a thrilling game. It was one of the craziest ones of the season, which is saying a lot because there's been a lot of crazy games this season. But I think we've touched on that about as much as we can. There's a couple other overtime games this week. I think we should switch it over to Mr. Ben Roethlisberger. We've been talking about the Steelers a little bit, and obviously Ben, with his retirement most likely looming on the very close horizon, he was watching that Chargers Raiders game very closely to make sure that he still had some season left in him, and it looks like he does. They took care of the Baltimore Ravens 16-13 in overtime, and Big Ben gets to continue his last season for a little bit more. What did you take from that Steelers Ravens game?
It seems like every Steelers Ravens game is like 60, like 1 or 2 points. I mean, look at the first game. I think the Steelers won by 1 point when Baltimore failed on a 2-point conversion. But every Steelers Ravens game goes down to the wire. Doesn't matter who's put under center, if it's at M&T Bank Stadium or Heinz Field. But the fact that, Steeler fans are thanking the Raiders for winning because now the Steelers, are in the playoffs, and B, Big Ben's got at least one more game.
Yeah.
But to be honest, what I thought about this game, I'm befuddled. This game left me befuddled because I'm amazed the Steelers made the playoffs this year with Big Ben just not looking like himself, and Pittsburgh's rush defense giving up 249 yards to the Ravens, but the Steelers defense made big plays when it mattered.
Yeah.
Huntley threw a couple key interceptions, and then I think he fumbled. Let me see. Yeah, Huntley fumbled.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think he fumbled and lost him. But the Steelers made just enough plays, and Roethlisberger made the big play-winning man. He threw that key touchdown pass to Chase Claypool.
Right.
The Steelers offense is a little weird this year because it's more Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson based. Well, Najee Harris didn't look like himself. I think he had a hand or some kind of a shoulder injury. So it was more Benny Snell and Najee Harris time split. And for Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson got 10 targets. But it was Pittsburgh's leading receiver on Sunday.
Why don't you tell me?
Pat Fry, I don't know if I can. Fry 6 for 53.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you've got two really solid receivers over there in Pittsburgh, and I mean, Pat Fryermuth's been having a good season. I mean, I remember a couple. I mean, maybe halfway through the fantasy football / NFL season, the Steelers were going into a Monday night game, and I was up by like 8 points or 10 points or 12 points going up against him, and man, broke my heart. And I think that was a game he ended up catching 2 touchdowns and gave me a nice little L for that week. But I mean, the Steelers, I think we all know they're going to get creamed by Kansas City. Unfortunately for Ben Roethlisberger, I think he does get one more game, but I think it's just going to be that one game. I would be shocked to see that game even close, to be honest with you. But credit to them. They got to the playoffs. That's more than a lot of teams can say. And at least, who knows? Maybe Ben's got some magic in him on on wild card weekend, but they definitely have an uphill battle against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, who definitely seem to have caught their stride at the end of this season.
Yeah, I mean, but the fact Big Ben's got another game ready, and I mean, if the Jags could beat the Colts as double-digit dogs, you imagine the Steelers shock the Chiefs?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine because I really don't see it happening. I mean, who knows? Crazier things have happened. Obviously, the Jaguars beating the Colts and the Jaguars beating the Bills have happened. Dolphins beat the Ravens when no one expected the Dolphins to be able to beat anyone. So obviously crazy things have happened this season. But the fact that it's in the playoffs, and I mean, obviously Big Ben's got playoff experience, got Super Bowl experience, but so does Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes is in the prime of his career instead of the twilight of his career. But you never know. I mean, that's why they play the games. It's the NFL. Anything can happen, and I'm excited to keep tabs on these games this weekend. But we had one more playoff, or I'm sorry, not playoff game, overtime game this weekend that we want to touch on. The LA Rams fall into the San Francisco 49ers. The LA Rams have been one of the weirdest teams this year, I feel like, just based on, some games they look unbeatable. And then other games, it's like, a lot of people had this team in the Super Bowl earlier in the season, and now I'm not so sure where they're falling. But what do you think about San Francisco knocking off the Rams in overtime?
The San Francisco 49ers just became the most dangerous wildcard team of these playoffs.
Wow, that's high praise.
Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good quarterback, a great quarterback.
Also high praise.
Deebo Samuel is one bad dude in a good way. I'm not saying it's a bad play. I'm saying
right.
Whether he's running the ball, catching the ball, or as he did on Sunday, throwing the ball. Deebo Samuel is a versatile player. I mean, we all remember the Super Bowl where Deebo Samuel basically ran, caught, maybe threw some passes for the Niners, but Deebo Samuel is a versatile player. That touchdown pass he threw in the third quarter, I think it was a game breaker because it got after starting third quarter, the key touchdown run really got the Niners going. And then how about Jimmy G coming through with big plays? Because a lot of people have questioned whether Jimmy G can be the franchise quarterback.
Right.
Proved it on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because he outplayed Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. And it really wasn't even that close. I mean, Matt Stafford didn't have a terrible game. I mean, he played fine, but yeah, I mean,
Jimmy played a terrible half. I mean, if you saw the first half, Stafford and the Rams looked like themselves, and in the second half, Stafford was throwing. Well, at least he didn't throw a pick six, but he was throwing interceptions.
Yeah,
and
you're right. He played a fine half is definitely a better way to phrase that. I mean, obviously the 2 picks, he was sacked 5 times. I mean, it's just. Jimmy G, it's there. You wonder why. You start to wonder why Bill Belichick was so upset to trade Jimmy G away from New England, and I think Jimmy Garoppolo really proved this week that Bill had a good reason to be upset because I mean I've been rooting against these San Francisco 49ers all season. Obviously, Miami owns their first round draft pick next in this upcoming draft. And so I've been keeping my eye a little bit on the 49ers, just like I was doing with the Texans last season. And unfortunately for me, I mean, these 49ers, they've gone through injury. It seems like the 49ers have to be one of the worst plagued teams with injuries in the most and the past couple of years. I mean, it seems like every running back that comes to the San Francisco 49ers ends up being hurt. All of their running backs ended up being hurt throughout the year. I mean, Kittle's been dealing with the injury bug. They've had some quarterback, ins and outs and swap arounds. I mean, it just seems like the San Francisco 49ers are one of the grittiest teams in the NFL, in my opinion. I mean, just the fact that they've dealt with all of that controversy, all of those injuries that they've had to overcome, and they end up beating the LA Rams in the season finale. They're in the playoffs, and they've got to match up with the Cowboys. I mean, Jimmy G played a great game, and they definitely have the weapons that can compete with the weapons that Dallas has. It's definitely going to be an interesting game on Sunday, and I'm a little disappointed in the Rams. I mean, that team seems like it has the pieces to really make a run this season, but it just seems like some weeks they really can't put all three phases of their team together to be able to get that W, and that definitely could hurt them in these playoffs.
And by the way, yes, we love Matthew Stafford's ability, but you can't be throwing interceptions or pick sixes in January.
Right.
Because how many picks has Stafford thrown the last 3 weeks? I think he's thrown like 7 interceptions the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but it's not what you want to see in crunch time in December, January football.
Oh yeah, now the story's coming out that Stafford hurt his toe on Sunday. Yeah, 7 interceptions, 6 touchdowns, 7 picks in his last 3 games.
Jeez.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes is a good word. I mean, he might have been in the Detroit Lions organization for a little too long. Hopefully he's not holding on to some of that Detroit Lions luck, but I mean, they're definitely going to have to turn some things around. I mean, they've got to match up with the Cardinals this weekend, and that Cardinals defense isn't you don't want to mess with them. I mean, they got JJ Watt back. They've obviously got some really good talent on that defense. Budda Baker is a stud, and obviously they've got Kyler Murray and a couple weapons on that offense too. So I'm excited for that game. I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch, and we'll see if Matthew Stafford can keep the ball in Cooper Kupp's hands instead of the defensive backs' hands, because that's been working pretty well for him this season.
By the way, how many playoff wins does Matthew Stafford have?
I would have to guess 0. Considering he spent the majority of his time with the Detroit Lions, I can't remember a time where Matthew Stafford has won a playoff game. So.
You would be correct. Zippity doo.
Yeah. Will that change this weekend, or will that stay the same? We will see.
Well, unfortunately, my Jacksonville Jaguars are not the only one of our teams looking for a new head coach. For some inexplicable reason, the Miami Dolphins relieved Brian Flores of his head coaching duties after going, 24-25 over 3 seasons with the Dolphins, 19-14 over the last 2, 10-6 last year, 9-8 this year. The Dolphins are now looking for a head coach again. So Alex, when you heard the Brian Flores firing, what were your thoughts?
Immediate reaction, I was shocked. Definitely. I mean, I don't think anyone saw it coming. I mean, there was I have different opinions on this than a lot of people I've seen. People hate this move. Media especially hates this move. Dolphins fans in a pretty strong majority are pretty against it. I immediately, when I heard it, was upset, but really after sitting back and thinking about it, yes, Brian Flores is a great coach. Yes, he has had success in Miami, but there's some bit of hesitation for me over Brian Flores, just because of the fact that, yes, he's done a lot of things really right in Miami, but there's a lot of things that really he needed to get done that he didn't get done. I mean, he's had 4 offensive coordinators in 3 years. He's had 4 offensive line coaches in 3 years. He fired his first offensive line coach this year 3 days into training camp. I mean, got rid of Minka Fitzpatrick, which there was definitely a butting heads there. Got rid of Kyle Van Noy, which I think would have been a really nice piece to have in that 7-game losing streak at the beginning of this season. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, he gave the Miami Dolphins back-to-back winning seasons. Yes, he swept the New England Patriots for the first time in 20 years. But we've also not made the play. I mean, Adam Gase took the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs. We've been 1 game short, but yes, we've been 1 game short. I mean, I'm at a conflict here because he has proven himself as capable, but not excellent, I would say. I mean, it's a weird situation because if the Miami Dolphins beat the Tennessee Titans and then go on to beat New England like they did, I mean, Brian Flores is having Coach of the Year. He's probably a top 2 or 3 Coach of the Year candidate in my opinion. And the fact that they get blown out 34-3 against the Tennessee Titans. Yes, Tua didn't play very well, but they did not game plan at all for the conditions of that football game. I think that there's potential for the Miami Dolphins to get a really solid replacement. There's a couple names at the very top of my list. And there's a couple names where if they end up hiring those guys, I think Miami Dolphins fans might quickly forget about Brian Flores.
I hate to say it, but the Miami Dolphins will regret the Brian Flores firing. I mean, everybody's saying, I've heard people say Brian Flores is all to work with.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Would you say Nick Saban's the best with the media or with his team, and yet Alabama always wins? Would you say Bill Belichick's the friendliest coach? He always wins.
Yeah.
I mean, you go 19-14 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jacoby Brissett, and Tua as your quarterbacks.
Right.
In a division with Sean McDermott and Bill Belichick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not taking away from what Brian Flores has done in Miami. I mean, but at the end of the day, what has Brian Flores done in Miami? I mean, he's won some games, but it hasn't really got him anywhere. The offensive line is still garbage.
Wait a minute. Was Brian Flores the one who drafted Tua? No. Was Brian Flores the one who drafted Austin Jackson? No. Was Brian Flores the one who wanted Justin Herbert over Tua 2 years ago? Yes.
But was Brian Flores the one who put together this coaching staff who was completely inept in the first half of the season, led to a 7-game losing streak? I mean, the thing of the matter is, look at Brian Flores' record without Tua, and then look at Brian Flores' record with Tua as a starting quarterback. Brian Flores, according to the media, hates Tua, it seems like, because I mean, it's never really seemed like he's been all in on Tua from the time that Tua was drafted. And his most success came with Tua. It just seems like he's butting heads with his starting quarterback. I mean, starting Jacoby Brissett he started Jacoby Brissett in the Ravens game, and then Brissett got hurt, right? And then Tua came in. There's been some questionable decisions. I just can't get over. Yes, he's a great defensive mind, and the defense has been great since he's been there. But the inefficiency of this offense, having two offensive coordinators, that's a Brian Flores call. Having an offensive line coach get fired 3 days into the training camp, that's a Brian Flores call. I mean, I don't think it's as black and white as a lot of people are saying. I mean, there's a lot of rumblings that a lot of players in the locker room didn't want to play for him. I mean, yes, they obviously, I mean, they were playing for something because they put on a 7-game win streak. But throw it back to the media. The media loves to talk about who the Miami Dolphins were playing against in that 7-game win streak. And I mean, Brian Flores
Nobody.
Exactly. But Brian Flores is a defensive-minded coach. I mean, his excellence is I mean, he kept a Super Bowl team to 3 points in the Super Bowl. I mean, the defense should be taking care of those quarterbacks. But look at the offense. Well, and whether that's on Tua or whether that's on offensive game planning, I tell you what, Tua had a terrible game against Tennessee. But going away from Duke Johnson after you give him 7 carries in the first half and then nothing in the second half did not help the Miami Dolphins' case in that game. I just think that if the Miami Dolphins bring in a guy such as Brian Dable, who I suggested the Jaguars should be interviewing, because I think you take an offensive mind who has groomed Josh Allen. First of all, as the Miami Dolphins, you take Brian Dable out of Buffalo and away from Josh Allen, and you throw him at Brian Dable worked with Tua at Alabama. He coached him at Alabama. They won a national championship together, and you hire a really solid defensive coordinator to make sure that defense doesn't take steps back. I mean, give me Brian Dable, give me Eric Bieniemy, or give me Doug Peterson. Any of those 3 guys. Doug Peterson has ties to the Miami Dolphins organization. He's got a really strong relationship with Dan Marino, and he was Dan Marino's backup in Miami. I mean, he's obviously won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I mean, they say that an NFL coach has never won a Super Bowl with 2 teams, and a lot of Dolphins fans don't want Doug Peterson for that. But you're telling me you don't want a head coach because he won a Super Bowl? That kind of seems like that doesn't really connect all the dots to me. I'll take a coach who's won a Super Bowl and make him be the first to win 2 Super Bowls. I think that there's potential for the Miami Dolphins to salvage this situation and even maybe improve on it. And that's the only reason why I'm not terribly upset about the Brian Flores firing.
I think your Dolphins are doomed. I hate to say it. You've got a middling quarterback with no stability, no functionality. I mean, the Detroit Lions played hard for Dan Campbell. They went 3-13-1.
Yeah.
Somebody explain. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the Giant game on Sunday. JoJo ran the worst QB sneak I've ever seen in my life. 7-9 from his own 4, and yet he is still employed. But yet Brian Flores is unemployed right now.
Yeah, he won't be for long. Some team's going to pick him up. I mean, whether it's the Bears, who he's already got an interview scheduled with, I think the Carolina Panthers need to get rid of Matt Rule and hire Brian Flores, because I think
the Panthers need to get themselves a capable quarterback, because Sam Darnold and Cam Newton have not proven to be capable quarterbacks now.
Yeah, but it's at this point we're 2 days into the Miami Dolphins off season. It's going to be a long off season. It's going to be very interesting. This is not going to be the first of head scratching decisions by the Miami Dolphins. I guarantee it. And firing Brian Flores could be the beginning of a whole new rebuild, which would be a disaster for the Miami Dolphins. But I think that they've got enough pieces, as long as they keep that defense intact. And obviously Jalen Waddle's not going anywhere. I mean, Mike Gesicki, they're going to have to pay him some money if they want him to stay. But I think you bring back Phillip Lindsay and Duke Johnson, and you draft a playmaker running back, and I think you might the run game might be working towards progress. I mean, there's really nowhere else to go but up. I mean, I think the Dolphins, yes, losing Brian Flores stings because it's starting over in a sense, but I do think that there's potential. I think there's potential. We're not going to find out for a long time. September is a long way away to see what these Dolphins do, and when it comes to coaching staff and personnel changes. But I think just based on the talent alone that Miami has, there's opportunity for some potential success or potential failure. It really could go either way, but I don't think it's one way or the, I don't think it's failure and no chance of success. I definitely think there's an opportunity for failure. There's an opportunity for success. And it really just depends on how Stephen Ross and Chris Greer play their cards.
Yeah, at this rate, Stephen Ross will probably get Jim Harbaugh and just create Michigan-Miami film.
Well, Stephen Ross cares more about Michigan than he does about the Miami Dolphins. He publicly stated it yesterday. So I think Stephen Ross needs to sell the team. I mean, I think that would be a big step towards the Miami Dolphins in becoming the franchise that they used to be. But, that's a conversation for another day.
Okay, so with the playoffs starting this Saturday, it's time to revisit and maybe revise our Super Bowl predictions. Before the season, you picked the LA Rams and the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
And I picked the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. So are you changing or staying?
I am definitely changing. The NFC has been has had a juggernaut of teams throughout it all season. I mean, it seems like all the best football has been played in the NFC this season. And which is leading me to say that the LA Rams have a much harder road to the Super Bowl than I think I initially thought. And just the inconsistencies from Matt Stafford, I really don't think they can get it done. As far as the NFC goes, I mean, it's tough, man, because it seems to me that every team in this NFC playoff race is a really solid team and has very high potential, but also has potential to flop. I mean, obviously you look at the Green Bay Packers, but the Green Bay Packers playoff resume in the most recent years hasn't been the brightest. It seems like they choke in the playoffs every single year. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have an injury list longer than my grocery shopping list, which is getting pretty long because I need to go to Publix pretty soon. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, very talented team, have a little bit of inconsistency issues, I think. So, I mean, if I had to pick one team from the NFC, I think this might be the year the Green Bay Packers finally get over the hump, get back to the Super Bowl. So I am changing from the LA Rams, and I have the Green Bay with home field advantage making it to the Super Bowl out of the NFC for me. AFC for me is a little bit different. I mean, obviously the Tennessee Titans were, the Tennessee Titans were my preseason pick. Like you said, they finished the AFC with the 1 seed. I mean, that's not a bad situation for my prediction to be in. Derrick Henry, obviously, on the verge of coming back. How is he gonna fare coming back from his injury? I mean, he's missed the majority of the season, but he's also Derrick Henry. I'm going to change up my AFC prediction. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I really just think there's too much power on that offense. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid know how to win in the playoffs. They know how to get to a Super Bowl, and I think they're going to do it again. I've got a Kansas City Green Bay Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, you're going with the chalk. I knew exactly what you were doing. You're not fooling me, you poop.
I mean, the AFC, I don't see the Steelers getting past Kansas City. I don't see the Patriots getting past Buffalo, and Buffalo's been a little inconsistent this year. I think they'll be able to take care of New England, but the game after that, who knows what could come out of Buffalo. And then Vegas and Cincinnati. I mean, I think Cincinnati might be the biggest sleeper team in the playoffs. You're talking about the 49ers. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals can turn it on whenever they want, it seems like, with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I think they might be I think Cincinnati's more dangerous than Buffalo, Vegas, New England, or maybe even Tennessee right
now. As Martina McBride says, you're wrong again.
All right. Love to hear it.
I've got a completely different Super Bowl than you.
All right. I'm ready to hear it.
Assuming this next Super Bowl is in LA, which may or may not happen because of the Omicron variant or whatever variant it is, but Do you remember the last you were not alive for the last Super Bowl in LA, but what team represented the American Football Conference in Pasadena for Super Bowl 27?
Super Bowl 27. What year was that?
1993.
1993, LA Super Bowl, AFC team.
I'll give you a hint. But that team featured a Hall of Fame quarterback who wore the number 12.
I'm going to have to go with Buffalo. All right. Jim
The
Kelly.
Buffalo, I think this is the year the Bills make the Super Bowl. I mean, first off, we've seen the Atlanta Braves win the World Series after the 26-year draft. Last night, Georgia won its first national championship in 41 years. I think the Buffalo Bills win. First off, Aaron Rodgers is not the best quarterback in the playoffs. Tom Brady is not the best quarterback in the playoffs. Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And secondly, I think the Bills are capable of beating the Chiefs. First off, Buffalo not just beat Kansas City in Week 5, they whooped them.
Right.
I think the Bills match up well. They can win a high-scoring game. Secondly, Devin Singletary is the biggest X factor for the Bills, because if Devin Singletary running or receiving gives the Bills something different, it means Josh Allen is not throwing the ball 55, 60 times a game. He can dump off of Singletary or just hand him the ball, and the Bills are a different team. And third, the Bills are not scared of playing anyone. They've gone to New England and won. Gone to Tampa, probably should have won.
No.
That game. Gone to Nashville, probably should have won that game. But the Bills are capable of winning against anyone, any team, anywhere, any coach, any quarterback. And we've seen lately these young quarterbacks take the next step. Remember Mahomes playing the AFC Championship game, and then the next year made the Super Bowl. I think this is the year Sean McDermott and Josh Allen take the next step. I know it's a difficult route because they face New England on Saturday night, and then if they win, Kansas City the week after, and then probably Tennessee or Cincinnati. But I think the Bills match up well with anybody. And I think the Bills win.
You think the Bills win the Super Bowl?
I think
Okay. You said I think the Bills win. I was about to say I
think the Bills. I think the
Bills win a Super Bowl.
I think the Bills win the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, it's good points. I mean, Devin Singletary's been stepping up. I mean, he helped me in our daily fantasy on DraftKings this week.
Oh, don't remind me of that.
Yeah, you didn't think I was going to bring that one up, but everyone, I had a nice little butt whooping of Dylan this week in our daily, in our week 18 slate of DraftKings. But, you know, I won't get too far into that. Thank you, Devin Singletary. So it's a great point. I mean, Devin
By the way, what was the score of that game?
It was, let me look, like 170 something, I think, to like 130 something.
113, 114 wasn't even close.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. Where's my 173 to 114. Woo.
Yeah, Joe Burrow couldn't play, so he couldn't bail you out again.
I know. I mean, I didn't need. I mean, I knew he wasn't playing, and it's not letting me bring up my lineup for some reason. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Devin Singletary, nice little 25 points. Well, you had him too in your flex, but the St. Brown play, the Darnell Mooney play, the Tyler Higbee play, the Rashad Penny play. I mean, my boys went off this week. But I mean, back to Devin Singletary. I mean, I think you make a great point about the Buffalo Bills and actually having a run game this year, because that's been some of the problems they've been having. Was, you know, Matt Breida had a couple of games where he stepped up and took the lead from the backfield. Obviously, they've had Zach Moss in the rotation throughout the year, but Devin Singletary, I think, has always been the guy. He just hasn't really stepped up throughout the year, but he's really been stepping up lately. And I mean, I think you make a good point. I think if they have that run game going strong, whether it's a dump off pass from Josh Allen, so Josh Allen doesn't have to be hurdling linebackers anymore. You know, I think I do think, I mean, Buffalo's got a chance. I'm not putting any money on them to win a Super Bowl because I don't know if the Buffalo Bills could. I think you could spot the Bills 20 points and they'd find a way to blow the Super Bowl just based on their Super Bowl history. But you know, I do think Buffalo's got the second best chance behind Kansas City to make the Super Bowl. I'll give you that.
And by the way, in the NFC,
yep,
I hate to say it, but Aaron Rodgers is a choke artist. How many times have the Packers gotten home field advantage throughout the playoffs? And seemingly each time they can't win NFC. They can't win a freaking NFC championship game. Last year they got the Bucs, a cold weather team, and lost again.
Yeah. I mean, that's Tom Brady, but that's also Tom Brady with a room full of healthy receivers.
And you and I both know who's winning the NFC this year. It's not the Packers. It's not the Bucs.
I mean, it's probably
it's not the Cowboys.
Huh?
It's not the Cardinals. It's not the 49ers. It's not the Eagles. It's the LA Rams. The LA Rams are going to win the NFC this year. Book it.
You think so?
Yes. I don't care.
I mean, I thought so at the beginning of the year, but then I watched them play some football. I mean, obviously they've got. I mean, is Darrell Henderson coming back?
Well, Cam Akers. I'm telling you right now, Cam Akers was a star last year in the playoffs, and he'll be a star this year in the playoffs. Nobody can stop him. Nobody stopped Cooper Kupp this year.
Yeah.
And I think Matthew Stafford is playing on the best team this year. He will get his you-know-what together because this is the best chance he'll have to win not just a playoff game, but multiple playoff games. Sean McVay's going to get his guys ready because they've got. I know LA's road stuff. Good chance. They've got Arizona Monday night. Good chance to face Green Bay or Tampa, and then potentially both of them the next couple of weeks. But the Rams are capable of winning. The Rams already smoked Tampa in week 3, and I think the Rams are more than capable going on the road, beating Tampa, beating Green Bay. I don't care if it's 15 degrees and frosty. The LA Rams will win the NFC this year. Book it.
I mean, all I'm going to say to that, Dylan, is do you remember on November 28th, there was a certain football game that was played, a certain LA Rams and a certain Green Bay Packers with a Aaron Rodgers on a bum toe?
Whatever.
And who won that football game, Dylan? The Green Bay Packers did. And I know that Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers have had problems getting to the Super Bowl. It's been Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite, it seems like, throughout the most recent parts of his career. However, this is a different Aaron Rodgers. This is an angry Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was going to walk away from this team last year. And how better of almost a middle finger to the Green Bay ownership that he's been clashing heads with so much would it be to just say, you know what? You want me to leave? You don't want to be able to work with me? I'm going to take you to a Super Bowl. I mean, it just seems like Aaron Rodgers doesn't give two Fs this season. And I just have a feeling, I mean, he's been playing with this bum toe. They've still been winning games. He's still been putting up big numbers. They've got A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. They've got Devontae Adams. They've got some studs on defense. I mean, I think this is the year that Aaron Rodgers really just says, you know what, I'm done playing games. Everyone's been doubting me. Everyone's been telling me I should retire. Everyone's been telling me I should move on from Green Bay at the very least. This is his time to step up. Green Bay Packers are going to beat the LA Rams or anyone else they have to face, and the Green Bay Packers are going to the Super Bowl. Book it.
Okay, so you and I are ending this episode bickering about disagreeing on the Brian Flores firing And now
Yeah.
we're in the episode about a Super Bowl pick. So you've got Green Bay and Kansas City, a replay of Super Bowl I. I've got LA and Buffalo. We'll see who's
We-
right. We'll see.
shall see.
We'll see who's right. Hashtag it won't be you.
Haha.
So thanks for hopping on, Alex. We wish the Dolphins well in your coaching shirts, and hopefully Super Wildcard Weekend is just as crazy and insane as the Week 18 weekend was.
Yeah. Always a pleasure to be here, Dylan. Always fun being on. We've got some fun playoff games coming up to be able to talk about. So I'm excited to watch them, excited to talk about them with you, and excited to be on the show. Pleasure as always. Fins up until next year.